Hey, what's going on, you guys? Hey, welcome back to another episode with Trek. Huge shout out to everybody that has just tapped in. And if this is your first time here, what we like to do is take a look at the most interesting and creepy videos from all around the internet. If you haven't already, smash that like button, smash that subscribe button, join the iTrack fan, man. Stay up to date with the latest and greatest. Let's go ahead and jump right into it.
Turns out your apple is not as vegetarian as you think. It comes with a protein boost. Now these mites are a natural part of the ecosystem and they are rich in B12, iron, amino acids. Americans unknowingly consume a pound of insect parts every year. It is recommended you wash your fruit thoroughly, and not just for little buggers, but especially for the pesticides that are sprayed on them. Honestly, it's a bigger problem. They are so harmful.
Hey, and by now we all know this, but you know that little ashy part right on the apple where you think it's just like, dry a little bit? No, those are like bugs and insects, right? We just can't see it with the naked eye. That still grosses me out just a little bit.
Acting the devil or trying to summon Satan himself is a line that I don't think anyone should cross, no matter who you are or what you're doing it for, and Sam and Colby did just that in front of millions and millions of people. If you don't know who these two are, they're some of the biggest YouTubers in the game. They go around the world trying to find the most haunted spots and trying to contact the spirits, and this time they contacted the devil, and they themselves even said that they crossed the line. Check this out.
Like, worried about this?
I'm very worried about this. You're not supposed to mess with this dark magic like this. And even if you don't believe, it could come back to bite you in the ass. And so I really want you to think about it before you do it. Because like I said, with my faith and me believing in Jesus and stuff, it makes me feel bad that my best friend would put himself in a situation like this. So please be careful, but we've never crossed this line before. Just think about what you're doing.
So they do this really in-depth ritual, and Sam starts asking questions to Satan, and this woman is contacting the devil and replying on his behalf. And I think a lot of it is acting, I'm not gonna lie to you, but God is real and the devil is real, and I don't think this is something you should do, because if you keep knocking on the devil's door long enough, one day he might answer, and I don't think that's someone you want to reply from.
Well, looks like we all are back in for another episode of Mess Around and Find Out.
Spiders becoming self-aware.
I accidentally walked through this spider's web yesterday, so he rebuilt it since then, but with markers? Now you can see it way better? Oh my gosh. Hold on. He's like, you're gonna see it now. But that's him.
What happened was she walked through a spider web because she didn't see it. The very next day, this guy put up traffic cones on his spider web so she can see it, so she won't walk through it this time. So this spider understood someone might walk through this again, so I need to put some cones up. So he actually learned.
Genius, pure genius. But now, am I just to believe that spiders have some sort of conscience now, right? Is that what's going on here? I don't know if I can get behind that. It might be a thing, but that's deep. That's really deep. If you think spiders are starting to grow some kind of awareness now, definitely let me know. And I know all the iTrack fam in Australia might have a bit more experience in this department than most.
Figure AI just unveiled the Figure 3, their first mass-producible humanoid robot built specifically for your home. The new model ditches the dark gray industrial aesthetic for a lighter, more compact body composed of multi-density foam and soft washable fabric, giving it a warmer feel that's better suited for living spaces. It can handle all kinds of household chores, from cleaning to organizing. And when its battery is low, it simply walks over and charges itself through induction pads in its feet. What's remarkable is how quickly it learns. Helix, the AI platform powering Figure robots, mastered towel folding by watching just 80 hours of video footage. And CEO Brett Adcock expects the robot's capabilities to take massive leaps similar to what we've seen with large language models. And Figure's new BotQ manufacturing facility is expected to ramp up production of robots from 12,000 a year to 100,000, in part by having their own robots working the assembly line.
Buckle up. It's happening live. It's happening live. But you know what would be the smartest thing to do? Is to get like 100,000 of them, lease them out to people that want maids or want things like that. That's like the smartest play right now.
We've already got drones on the battlefield, and now we have wall hacks? Andrew just dropped Eagle Eye, which is a platform that enhances soldier perception through AI on this really cool looking helmet. Who would have thought warfare would turn into a gigantic video game? Now, I can't tell you exactly how they're doing this, but I have a guess. You're actually able to take Wi-Fi signals and convert them back to 3D spatial information. Those cat ears up there are doing something similar to that. Now, this is game-changing. I'm a man of peace, but if this is what the future has in store, I might have to go find myself some weapons of mass destruction, if you know what I'm saying.
Nowadays, all of us want to be rather large, don't we? We want to be big people. We want to make a big impression. But arguably, this is a fast route to mental illness, because the graceful acceptance of your minuscule position in the cosmos is the gateway to calm and harmony.
Albert Einstein was famous for always going on walks in the woods. If you are stuck, get moving. Don't sit at your desk. Get the hell up, get a water bottle, get outside. Even if you just need to walk around the block, go start walking and thinking.
In your view, China is preparing the ground for what?
In the view of U.S. intelligence officials and government leaders now for years, China is preparing to be able to fight and defeat the United States military in a war.
We live in an age that people are so lazy to do any work. Everything is so instantaneous. They're used to pressing a button and getting all information, that they want also all their spirituality to happen the same way. They want to have like this out-of-body experience, but not to do any work. And Hashem gave us these opportunities that we can, through work and obviously through serious work, we can access parts of the brain that we don't need substance, we don't need any external things. Unfortunately, especially talking about like people that are abusing these very dangerous substances, because people are not equipped and really developed their own inner life to understand what is happening and not what's the process that is occurring, a lot of people are ruining their lives through these things because it's accessing parts that they don't have ways to understand what these things are. And they don't have any ways to integrate them in a healthy way.
Now, I would love for him to sit down and have this conversation with Mike Tyson. Because Mike Tyson might sit him down and let him know, hey, the toad set me free, along with everything else I got going on, right? I don't know. That would be a good conversation right there.
It's too late to follow your dreams? This 58-year-old college freshman football player begs to differ. Meet Tom Sillo, a man who decided it's never too late to chase the dream he gave up on decades ago. After a long career and having raised kids now in their 20s and 30s, Tom confessed to a friend that he'd always regretted not playing football in high school. So with some encouragement from his personal trainer and friend, Tom decided to apply to college, got in, and joined the team. And now he's practicing alongside players young enough to be his kids, who all adore him for the way that he supports them and cheers them on, as any good teammate does. He's even attracted national attention, landing an NIL deal with Aspercream for an undisclosed amount that includes a 4-year supply to help him through all those practices. And if Tom keeps playing all 4 years, he might even make history as the oldest college football player ever. But that's not ultimately what drives him. He says, I know there are people out there just like me holding themselves back. And I want to tell them, don't do it any longer. If you have a dream, follow through with it. He's proof that age truly ain't nothing but a number. And the biggest, best comeback stories happen when you decide you're just not done yet.
You know, I'm starting to think people are using that whole age is just a number thing a little too lightly. 58 years old and you're playing college football, I just think that you are really shortening your years real fast, you know, because football already is a full contact sport, which is, you know, giving people all kind of concussions and like out of all the sports, the most dangerous, right? So I'm not too sure about this specific situation. This is a very one-off thing, and I wouldn't suggest anybody 58 years or older go and join a full contact sport like this, especially with people that are half your age. Sounds like a recipe for disaster. I don't know. Let me know what you think though.
We need to talk about one of the worst accidents that ever happened on a horror film set, because I don't really see this moment talked about much. So this accident happened on the set of The Exorcist, which is already a movie that plenty of people think was cursed, hence why I did a whole episode about it. But in the movie, Linda Blair plays this little girl named Reagan who was possessed by a demon. And the way that the film shows you that she's possessed are by these contraptions that they built for her. This is one that makes her levitate, But there was also this one that made her thrash around. To use this device, Linda had to be sewn into a plank, that way her back was supported while it was thrashing around. And mind you, the people controlling this device were adult men, and Linda was a child. So during one take, Linda actually became untethered from this device, meaning that her back was no longer supported. And you can see it in this take, but watch as she starts crying after the director calls cut. That's because Linda had just broken her spine. The director and the other adults in the room all thought that she was acting up a storm when in fact her screams and cries were from her spine being fractured. Anyways, that's only one of the many wild things that happened on this set, so check out the episode for more.
Hey, now that sounds completely horrific. I hope she got the check of a lifetime. I really do. Wow.
According to the FBI, if you can solve this riddle, you may be smart enough to become a special agent.
I'm thinking she just ended up drinking more water than poison and just kind of flushed it out. I don't know. I'm not trying to be any kind of FBI agent, but let me know what you think anyways.
You think that every state has a different set of laws. We have a common law, right? Federal and all that. But then we have state laws. That's where they got us. Because how can you drive a car or have a gun or all these other things? You need a license for them.
That doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense, right? So it's in our Constitution, a right to bear arms. Why do I need a license?
Yeah, because there's no right to drive a car.
You have the right to travel.
Right. And this is why the cop stops you. I'm traveling my own capacity.
Yeah.
I'm not driving. This is the scam system that we're in when it comes to the money, sovereignty, corporation. When you establish a corporation, it's a corporation that's, it's dead. It's a dead entity. This is how their magic works, right? So like it's on your dollars, symbolism, Freemasons use symbolism, all this stuff that we use today, it's all occult magic. Riverbank, currency. I need to be liquid in order to pay for this. So we're using language of sea because there's more of the sea than there is of the land. So it's maritime admiralty law. It's the law of the sea that governs everything. This is what this is based on. So when you're at birth and you're like a ship, a doctor delivers who you are, and your manifest is your birth certificate. Why do we need birth certificates? Because they trade on it. The IMF has a deal to where every driver's license, birth certificate, any kind of license, they trade on the open market. You're a stock. So this is why you have Social Security. They're paying you pennies on the dollar to what you're owed already.
And I know about with debt, let's say I owe $20,000 for like a payment. Once I defer it, it gets to a point where people are just selling and buying my debt.
Yeah, so even with the credit system, so when they sell your debt, you're not responsible for that debt anymore. So when they call you, hey, someone's like, who are you? I don't have a contract with you. Somebody sold your debt, so hang up.
If I would have found out about Uber and how they were going to do it early on, based on the little information I know, I would have jumped all over this. Because I understand what a driver's license is. When you have a driver's license, that means you're operating in commerce. Right when I heard that they were doing it, I was like, fuck.
Yep.
It's absolutely 100% gonna go through and they're not gonna be able to stop it because that's exactly what a driver's license is.
Why do you think we have to register our car with the state every year? Why do you have to know where my car is at any given time and know the information and this and that? So if you park in a red zone, guess what they can do? They can tow your car. You own the loan or you're paying on the loan. Some stranger can just pick up your material.
They're using the statutes to manipulate the law.
Right, UCC, Uniform Commercial Codes. This is all part of the system. When they put, a UCC lien on you, or they can dip into your account. And that's the thing, people really think they own shit, but they don't.
Yeah.
Hey, you see him get depressed at the end? He said, yeah, because he knew, man, when you start to open your eyes up and realize what's going on, it definitely might dampen your day just a little bit, but then at least you have the knowledge to kind of understand the world that you're living in, or the simulation, or whatever you might want to call it. It's interesting.
Oh my god! Dodging people. Oh my god! Oh, what the? It's on my face!
Il fait une énorme réaction, je crois.
Et il y a quelqu'un.
Okay, note to self. Stay away from eating scorpions.
This is a robot hand. This is a really big deal for prosthetics. This thing is tough. It's made for people with prosthetic arms that are connected to a person's body with sensors that measure the electrical signals from their brain to their hand. It's not made for my hand, but it's got a whole list of preset grips. We've got rock, point. This is finger wave. This one's called Rude. This obviously isn't meant for my arm, but I can control it a little bit with these sensors that are detecting my electrical signals. So I can say I want one of those motions to mean finger wave. Ta-da! Or the open one to mean rock and roll. Yeah, there we go. I'm not an expert at using this, but the things that people can do with these hands is incredible. It works on a touch screen, it's water resistant, and it lets people feel things. It has sensors that detect pressure when you grip something and sends a vibration to your arm. It also works with robots, and they're testing it with brain implants. For more optimistic science and tech stories, follow along.
How realistic are flight simulators compared to actual flying? Sit down for this answer. It's a shocker. They are so realistic that we get completely qualified in the simulator. The first time I set foot on a Boeing 777 to fly the real airplane was with passengers in the back. Now you're going, wait a minute. That's the first time you've ever stepped foot on that airplane? Was when you were taking me someplace? Yep. Now I'm with a check pilot, and for the first 25 hours of flying in the actual airplane, I'm supervised by a supervisory pilot, but the FAA signs me off as qualified, type rated in the airplane based on the simulator alone. Sometimes the simulators are so real, you can't even tell that you're in a simulator. Ever had a close call on the runway with another aircraft? Not on the runway, but on a taxiway, yes. My biggest fear, the thing that keeps me up at night, is that somehow I'm going to go head to head with another airplane because there is no reverse in a commercial jet. And so both of you would have to admit what happened, and then you'd have to have somebody come out and tow you away. Very embarrassing.
You know that if you try to follow every law, that eventually you'd be breaking another one without realizing it? Laws literally contradict each other, and that's why we have lawyers to get our way. And sometimes what's best for you and everyone is actually against the law. So yes, sometimes break the law.
Is it possible to exceed the speed of light? And the answer is yes.
Sorry, just for a moment, sir. I mean, I thought Albert Einstein's theory of relativity made it absolutely impossible to exceed the speed of light.
People forget that Einstein had two theories, not one theory of relativity. The first theory says, yes, Einstein is the cop on the block. You cannot go faster than the speed of light. That's the special theory of relativity. But later, he created a more powerful general theory of relativity that showed that space itself is like a fabric that can be stretched and perhaps even ripped. And if you could rip the fabric of space and time, then we're now talking about hyperdrive technology.
Two of the largest private surveillance networks in America just teamed up. Amazon's Ring and Flock Safety have officially partnered. Here's what that means. The AI-powered cameras that track your car on the street can now ask your neighbor's Ring doorbell for video of you. They're connecting the street to your front door, creating one massive, searchable surveillance network for the police. And this isn't theory. 404 Media has already reported that ICE and the Secret Service have access to Flock's network. Now that network is about to get millions of new cameras from Ring. Remember, Ring was already fined $5.8 million by the FTC because its employees were caught spying on customers' private videos. You bought that doorbell to keep strangers out. Now it's letting federal agents in.
And if you've been paying attention, every piece of this super surveillance has been planned out. I'm talking about 4 or 5D chess. So this is not a coincidence. It's just they've been taking it step by step, and it's been going smoothly, effortlessly, to the point where you're going to look up and realize you are on candid camera on everybody's camera.
Let me tell you some things I just learned today. Water is the #1 substance we use in the world, but concrete is the second most used substance in the world. At age 26, Pistol Pete Maravich said, "I don't want to play 10 years in the NBA and die of a heart attack at age 40. He went on to play 10 more years in the NBA and died of a heart attack at the age of 40. What? An Oregon man in 2020 was driving a stolen car when he crashed into a woman driving another stolen car. Enrique Iglesias' grandfather conceived a child who was born 7 months after he died at the age of 90. At its real estate bubble peak in the 90s, Tokyo's total real estate value was priced higher than the entire real estate value of the United States. Denver, Colorado has an official mayor's residence that no mayor has ever lived in since it was donated to the city in 1998. After a volcano exploded with the energy of 500 Hiroshima bombs in 2022, the entire island that it was on virtually disappeared off of the map.
Mainstream says
These were just burial chambers for bulls, the sacred bulls of Apis. There's a word called Bayanbet. It's this ancient Egyptian word which means sky metal. It also translates as iron of the sky. It's referring to meteors. The ancient Egyptians, they found meteors. They recognized that it was the iron inside was a much harder material than the copper and bronze they had, that it was a celestial material. So they saw it as like this sacred thing falling from the heavens. And even the pharaoh's strength was often considered, it was often referred to as the bowl of the sky. So that's where I'm going. The meteors of iron, iron of the sky, bowl of the sky, it's relating to the constellation Taurus. And one of the original functions of these boxes, not to house dead sacred bowls physically, but the bowl of the sky, the celestial bowl, meteorites from Taurus that had iron in them.
Oxford researchers just confirmed what we feared. The internet, as we know it, is dying. Now that is the opening line of a post referencing this chart. It shows that for the first time ever, AI-generated news articles have now outnumbered those written by real humans. Only 5 years ago, this was near 100% human, 0% AI. But in 2022, when ChatGPT launched, everything changed. Now, as someone in the news space, this was pretty shocking, especially since the post then goes on to say that projections say 90% plus will be AI by next year. And to make it worse, quote, the real crisis is model collapse. When AI trains on AI-generated content, quality degrades like photocopying a photocopy, rare ideas disappear, everything converges into generic sameness. Sounds like some freaking dead internet theory type shit. So naturally, do some research and turns out this wasn't from Oxford. Rather, an SEO company carrying out a study using AI to detect if an article was written by AI. Their own methodology says that many argue detecting AI is impossible or at best highly inaccurate. So that throws into question if this graph is even correct. But let's just say for a second it is. What the article also didn't include is the number of views each article had, because the total number of AI written articles is meaningless if no one is reading them. But what about the crisis of model collapse we were warned of if AI is trained on AI? Well, I went back to the original post and lo and behold, I found a human AI expert who was worked at Meta, Uber, Amazon, Apple, Microsoft, and he said, quote, model collapse is widely considered not a real problem. He then lists the reasons why and provided research to back up his claim. Bro, and at this point, I am baffled. Everything this post told me was sus. But then, there's the kicker. I looked for who wrote it, and it wasn't a who. It's an it. Perplexity AI. Bro, how the hell is AI gonna fearmonger humans about AI? God damn. Here's the thing. Just when I was about to wage war against the machines, I remembered, when you get hit by a car, you don't blame the car, you blame the driver. AI is not killing the future. Humans are.
I think as long as humans prefer human influencers, I think all will be well. But as soon as humans start to appreciate AI influencers more than human influencers, I think that's when all social media will start to go downhill. But for now, I'm pretty confident that humans prefer humans.
Meat has destructive effects on the soul. In Vegetarianism and Occultism, Leadbeater states how, to a clairvoyant, the astral body of a man who consumes meat looks unclean, coarsened, and rough, clogging their higher senses and making them more sensitive to negative, undesirable passions and emotions. He also states how a man with a coarsened and unclean astral body, such as is formed from frequent meat consumption, will have to spend the first part of his life after death in this degraded vehicle, and that this vehicle also draws in negative entities, making his life more difficult. Leadbeater also states how the atmosphere about slaughterhouses is charged with horror, pain, indignation, and resentment, which acts upon the entirety of the human race. This practice of animal cruelty acts like a cloud that induces constant feelings of ceaseless terror in humanity. Renowned clairvoyant Rudolf Steiner also corroborated this, often speaking about how when one eats meat, they absorb the emotional astral remnants of the animal. Eating meat thus makes one more animalistic, materialistic, and more tethered to the physical realm rather than to the higher realms. He also spoke of how eating meat makes one more dogmatic and egotistical in their view.
See, I hear him, you know what I mean? I hear everything he's saying, but I don't know how that's going to stop anybody from eating a steak that was cooked just right. I'm just saying.
Researchers just spent 3 years listening to satellites with an $800 dish. What they found is a nightmare for anyone who uses a cell phone. Wired has revealed a huge portion of the world's satellite data is not secure. In just 9 hours, they captured the phone numbers of over 2,700 T-Mobile customers, along with the contents of their incoming calls and texts. This is happening because some remote cell towers use satellites to send data back to the core network, but they're sending it in the clear for anyone to grab out of the air. The researchers named their project Don't Look Up, saying the entire industry's security model was based on the assumption that no one would ever bother to check. Experts told Wired it's almost certain that foreign intelligence agencies have been exploiting this for years.
This just won the 2025 Nobel Prize. 3 scientists who answered a question that's now powering quantum computers. How big can a quantum system be? John Clark, Michel Devray, and John Martinez just won for demonstrating macroscopic quantum tunneling in the 1980s. Here's exactly what they did. Quantum tunneling has been observed for decades, particle passing through barriers that it shouldn't be able to cross. It happens at the atomic scale constantly, radioactive decay, semiconductors. But the question was, can billions of particles acting together as one system display quantum behavior? Or does the quantum world just disappear when you scale up? This team built a superconducting quantum circuit, big enough to actually hold in your hand, containing billions of electrons. They demonstrated that the entire system could tunnel as if it were a single quantum particle. Now, why does this matter? It matters because this opened up quantum engineering. If quantum effects work at macroscopic scales, you can build with them, and you can control them, and engineer them. And this discovery is the foundation of superconducting qubits, the type of quantum computer that Google and IBM are building today. And these scientists are big in the field. Martinez led Google's quantum team when they claimed quantum supremacy in 2019, and Devray is now chief scientist at Google Quantum AI. This truly is the year of quantum.
If space is freezing cold, how do satellites and spacesuits not freeze solid? We're told the vacuum of space drops to nearly minus 270 degrees Celsius, colder than dry ice, colder than the deepest part of Antarctica. Yet somehow, fragile metal machines are up there working perfectly. How is that even possible? Metal doesn't love the cold. It shrinks, cracks, and stops working. So what are we really seeing in those videos? Picture this, a satellite gliding above Earth. Half of it is burning in direct sunlight, over 250 degrees Fahrenheit. The other half sits in shadow at minus 250 degrees Fahrenheit. That's a 500-degree swing every 45 minutes. No cracks, no frozen wires, no broken parts, just flawless performance. And astronauts? They wear thin layers of fabric that somehow keep them alive in temperatures that would freeze solid steel. No ice, no foggy visors, just smooth movements against a pitch-black background that never seems to change. Ever notice how every space clip looks almost identical? Same flat horizon, same lighting, same glow, almost like it's filmed in one endless dark studio. And here's the strangest part. For all the satellites said to orbit Earth, have you ever seen real footage of one being repaired, drifting, or malfunctioning out there? Not CGI, not animation, actual raw footage no one has. So maybe the question isn't how they avoid freezing, but where they really are, because if space is truly that cold, metal should snap, batteries should die, and humans should freeze in seconds. Maybe the biggest mysteries aren't hiding deep in space. Maybe they're right above our heads, wrapped in a story we stopped questioning. If that got you thinking, keep watching to find out what comes next. This is only the beginning, so hit follow. Rely on your intuition and, question everything. This video is for entertainment purposes.
See, in life, you don't have to ask a whole lot of questions. You just got to ask a few of the right ones. And he definitely was asking all the right questions. And they definitely need to be answered ASAP before I start believing anything.
This job pays $150,000 a year, but most people wouldn't last a single shift. It's cranberry farming. To harvest, farmers flood the fields so the cranberries float to the surface thanks to a little air pocket inside each one. But here's the catch. When the water rises, so do the thousands of wolf spiders that live below. And the first thing they crawl toward is the farmer. Their bites aren't deadly, but they hurt. A lot. But the farmers still leave them alone because those spiders eat pests that could ruin the crops. $150K a year. Would you do it?
For $150K? No. Maybe for like $250K, we can. That's a starting point. But all them spiders and getting bit like that, probably not worth it over a year's time for $150K. Nah, but let me know if that's a job you might get into.
that I heard growing up was that you need to eat lots of carrots,
Mhm.
and then carrots will help your vision.
Do you know where that came from?
No.
That's actually it was propaganda started in the UK. I believe it was World War II that Britain was being attacked by the Germans, and they were worried about German warplanes dropping bombs on them, especially at nighttime. And they had already established radar to detect warplanes coming, but they didn't want Germany to know that. So they put out their own propaganda saying, hey, our scouts can detect German warplanes better because they eat their carrots. Because carrots have beta carotene, which your body can convert to vitamin A, which is essential for nighttime vision and retinal health.
Ah, okay. Because I also used to hear that if you ate carrots, you could see in the dark.
Yeah. So it is based on some, like vitamin A is essential for photoreceptors in the back of the eye, but most people are not vitamin A deficient by far. And so it's pretty rare that we see vitamin A deficiency in the eye clinic, unless you happen to live in a place that's pretty malnourished.
See, they start that lie in grade school, right? When you're young, they try to tell you, oh, eat your carrots because you'll see better. I used to hear that lie all the time, but when you're young, you really don't think too much about it. It sounds even kind of crazy back then, actually.
Have you ever wondered how Helen Keller learned words? I mean, she was deaf and blind by the age of 2, so how did she end up writing 14 books? Well, at the age of 7, Helen met Anne Sullivan, an instructor who would become her lifelong companion and teach her language. So how did she do it? She started by using her finger to write words into Helen's hand. For example, she would give Helen a mug to hold and then write the word mug in her hand. However, words like mug and milk and drink soon became confusing because they were about similar things. But then she had a breakthrough. Helen had recently learned the word water, and she already knew the word mug. So to show her that everything has its own name, Anne took her to a water pump, gave her a mug to hold, and began filling the mug with water. As the water overflowed the mug onto Helen's hand, while Anne was spelling the word water, Helen realized the difference between the two and fully grasped the concept. She learned 30 words that same day, and eventually hundreds of others. This allowed her to learn Braille and eventually to read and write. And you can follow me for more interesting videos.
Isn't it funny how you can get a ticket for not wearing a seatbelt, but motorcycles don't even have them?
Hey, now, do I need to tell him or should you tell him? Let me know.
That's another thing, is like a lot of these people that are steeped in the occult and witchcraft and things like that and demonic and satanic rituals also have a lot to do with spies and spy agencies, different governments, intelligence agencies.
In the next 12 months, everything you know about movies and media is going to change. You will no longer need a camera, you won't need actors, you won't even need any money. You can describe it, you can make it. And that means Hollywood's monopoly on imagination is about to change. And they know this, they're preparing for it. Lionsgate just partnered with Runway AI. Disney has over 50 researchers rewriting productions with AI tools. Warner Brothers already uses algorithms to decide what actors get hired. And Netflix tested AI in its short film The Dog and the Boy with great success. We're even seeing new studios like Staircase that are producing feature-length films with AI right now. Deep Dub can translate voices across languages with perfect lip sync you would never know. And text-to-video models like Veo and Sora 2 are creating scenes that look real, but this is just the beginning. This is a glimpse at what's coming. Within 12 months, we'll all become directors if we choose to, from the comfort of our own home. Every tool that once cost studios millions will soon live in your laptop or inside your cell phone. Actors will now compete with their digital doubles. Writers will compete with machines that never sleep and usually make no mistakes. And anyone, anywhere, will be able to create a film that looks like a $100 million production from their bedroom. So the question really isn't if this changes entertainment, it's who survives this. Because in the next 12 months, the entire creative world gets rewritten. That Star Wars story you always wanted to see, you can do it now. A version of Game of Thrones that you wanted, you can get that now. Whatever you choose is going to become what you watch. You get to write your own content. And even though this sounds like science fiction, it's something that's going to happen very soon. The only question is, what do you think? Is this a good thing for movies and entertainment? Or is this a disaster waiting to happen?
I mean, I think it could be a good thing if done right. You know what I mean? Because people stopped going to the movie theaters. Going to the movie theaters used to be a thing, but movies start to kind of fall off, and then Netflix started to do it better than the actual studios. So if it's done right, I think it could be a good thing.
You're fine for exactly 2 hours and 20 minutes at social events. Then suddenly you're wanting to commit crimes. This isn't random. Introverts have measurably different acetylcholine metabolism that depletes after precisely 2.3 hours of social stimulation, creating genuine neurological exhaustion. Extroverts run on dopamine from external stimulation. Introverts run on acetylcholine from internal processing. Social interaction burns through your acetylcholine stores at 3 times the rate of solitary activity. After 2.3 hours, you're literally running on empty neurotransmitters. The exhaustion is as real as running out of gas. Plan every social event around this window. Arrive 20 minutes late. Leave after 2 hours. Your brain stays functional. Push to hour 3 and you'll need 6 hours of recovery. Push to hour 4 and you're destroyed for 2 days. The ratio is exponential, not linear. But here's a recharge hack. 10 minutes alone in a bathroom, completely quiet, resets your timer by 45 minutes. Not checking your phone, that's stimulation. Complete sensory deprivation. Your acetylcholine partially regenerates with 0 input. My social anxiety override teaches energy conservation strategies. Tap the link in my profile to subscribe for the complete social survival system. Your 2 to 3 hour limit isn't rudeness. It's neurobiology. Leave before you hit empty.
Hey, to all my introverts, thank me later. And probably round it down to about 2 hours, man. And that's about it. But definitely thank me later.
Oh, Lucille Ball. I Love Lucy?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so she's working on the Warner Brothers lot.
Warner Brothers
lot. She's there working. They're getting done filming. She goes and gets some dental work done. She goes back to the lot, and she keeps hearing all the time while she's there, while she's driving, she keeps hearing this like just like vibration almost in her jaw. And it keeps happening. Every time she goes back to the Warner Brothers lot, every time she's driving in her car, and she's like, this sounds like Morse code or something, because it like keeps tapping. She goes and she talks to the people at the lot. She says, there must be something going on. And it turns out they look into it, and underneath the ground is a secret Japanese radio station.
What the heck?
What? Spies. Legitimate Japanese spies that were underground at a radio station. So they were literally doing Morse code. She recognized it and literally reported it, and they busted these guys.
No way!
It's nuts.
I don't trust your stories.
I know, after
anymore.
last... No, 100%.
I'm going to show you a leaked photo beyond the ice wall, as well as who exactly sent it. And this place exists alongside one of the actual areas on the ice wall where there's land, but we're not sure which gate or area in Antarctica this actually is. Now, this isn't a new photo. I'm going to show that one to you next, but this is the one that came out about a year ago, and a lot of people actually think that this one is real. It shows vegetation, an ice wall, and an advanced egg-like type city going on back there. Now, here's the new photo of what is supposedly beyond the ice wall, which shows vegetation next to ice, which is what Admiral Byrd talked about when he flew over Antarctica. And a lot of people are thinking that this is actually up close to that egg-like type city. And now let me tell you who actually leaked this photo. The person who leaked it on their Telegram was Valiant Thor, who, if you've never heard of him, he's from Venus, supposedly, and he came to Earth.
So this digital ID situation is really starting to escalate. I talked about this a couple weeks ago, but the UK is starting to make it mandatory for people to get a digital ID if they want to work there.
I am announcing this government will make a new free of charge digital ID mandatory for the right to work by the end of this Parliament. Let me spell that out. You will not be able to work in the United Kingdom if you do not have digital ID. It's as simple as that.
Well, other countries like Vietnam are already taking extreme measures because they've shut down the bank accounts of 86 million people who refuse to comply and get digital IDs. People in the UK have already been protesting this because they believe the digital ID infringes on their privacy. But many believe that this is deeper than just privacy concerns, but instead the beginning stages of a mark of the beast-like system. The Bible makes it very clear that at the end of days, you will not be able to buy or sell anything if you do not have the mark of the beast. But leave a like and let me know what you think about all this in the comments.
Are you the type who listens to the same songs over and over and over again? Well, it might be for 3 very specific reasons, aside from the fact that you're probably kind of old. However, it's not just because you don't get new music anymore. There's actually some science behind it. Researchers looked at 15 years of music data from 40,000 people and found that the older you get, the more likely you are to stick to the same handful of songs. Here's why. First, good old nostalgia. The songs you listen to as a teen or young adult basically become the soundtrack of your life. So when you hit play on those tracks, it feels like stepping back into a simpler time. It's like comfort food, but for your ears. Number 2, your taste gets more defined. When you're younger, you'll basically try out anything on the charts or on the algorithm. But once you're older, you stop wanting to waste time on stuff you only kind of like, and double down on the artists and genres that you really truly love. And number 3, you just stop chasing new music. Teens and young people like to stay on top of what's hot and new as a way to connect with each other and stay engaged with the zeitgeist. But as you get older, you've pretty much found your vibe, and so putting in that effort just doesn't really appeal to you. So sure, if you're still bumping that same favorite album from 2008 or 1998, if you're old enough that 2008 feels like 15 minutes ago, hypothetically, yeah, you may be a little stuck in the past. But it really just means that you like what you like. And science says that's all just part of becoming older and wiser.
I mean, I must just be an outlier because I like to hear new music. I like expanding my musical palette because it's kind of like saying you just saw a new color, all right? Like, we know all the colors, right? But what if you get to see a new color? It's the same thing with music. It's like there's always a new sound. There's always a new frequency. And that's kind of exciting to me. But definitely let me know. Do you like to stick to what you know? Or do you like to expand your musical palette as well? You know, tap in. Let me know.
Movie fact that you love to tell people.
Angela Lansbury starred in a movie called Gaslight.
Okay.
And that movie is the origin of the phrase that we use for gaslighting.
That's so interesting.
The whole plot of the movie was her husband was tricking her by lying to her and trying to make her crazy by saying reality wasn't what it was. And the whole point was he was trying to drive her crazy for a purpose. And that's where the term comes from. If you look it up, it actually says this phrase was derived from the movie.
That's a solid movie fact.
It was Murder, She Wrote, like Angela Lansbury.
Ever wonder why so many celebrities end up depressed and sometimes even unalive themselves? The answer is a principle called the hedonic treadmill, and basically this states that no matter what happens in your life, whether it's positive or negative, eventually you'll return to a baseline level of happiness. A perfect example of this is lottery winners is typically the happiest they ever are is right after they found out they've won. Typically, however, a few years after winning the lottery, their baseline happiness resets and the money no longer really makes them happy. In some cases, it makes them even more depressed. Now, the opposite can come into effect with someone who's received a life sentence in prison, as initially they're going to be extremely sad and depressed about this event. But after a few years, their baseline happiness is going to reset. There's going to be things during the day they look forward to, and they're going to find happiness in their time. This explains why someone like Liam Payne, who outsiders would say had it all, money, an attractive girlfriend, a successful career, would be so depressed, because deep down he knew he would never reach that same happiness as when he was 16.
People have been asking me which curse was more dangerous to get. I did get a curse made for me in New Orleans by a guy called Sen Elias, who took a coffin nail, wrapped it around some of my own hair, and blended it with his powerful magic practice. I then went to India and asked a tantric practitioner to call upon his goddess Chinnamasta to judge me. Now, I don't know that that was actually a curse. If anything, I think that gave me an awakening to what I was actually trying to look for in this crazy, unusual, ridiculous concept that I had. But then I take it another step forward and enter into a blood pact with Satan. That, for me, was difficult. I think we all agree that in its concept, it's a very unique and powerful spirit or energy. Engaging directly with that to me, I think, started to really play on my subconscious and began to haunt me in my dreams. So would I rate any of those more or less dangerous? I don't know. I would suggest you don't try and find out for yourself.
You know why you don't gotta try it for yourself? Because he was dumb enough to do it, man. That's crazy. Pure craziness. Only somebody that just has nothing to live for, or maybe an NPC, something crazy, man. Because why would you want to even make a blood pact with the devil? Hey, good on you. Good on you.
One-hit wonders only had one hit because they didn't sell their souls. They didn't say yes to Diddy or, whatever that devil might be. They got the one shot. It was supposed to do the deal and said, oh, no. And then they're like, bye-bye.
If you got your paperwork right, all you need is one hit anyway. Like, you'll be straight for life.
When I was in Australia in 1999, I was with Kerry Packer, the richest guy in the world, and he was known as a big gambler. He would go to Las Vegas, and he was known for losing $10, $20, $30 million on a weekend. And I was with him, and I said, you like to gamble? Oh, yeah, I love to gamble. He says, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking you read the reports that I lose $30 million this weekend, and it looks like I lose money. I make money every time I go to Las Vegas. I go, how? He goes, let's go to Las Vegas, and I'm going to show you. So we hop on his plane, we go to Las Vegas. And on this particular weekend, he lost $27 million. And I'm there with him, and I said, he didn't have a good weekend. Oh, yeah, I did. He goes, I made big money this weekend. What are you talking about? And he goes, look, what day is it? I go, it's the 31st of the month. He goes, it's the last day of the month. He goes, it's also the last day of the quarter. This casino is a publicly traded company. They just made a windfall. That means when the numbers come out, the stock price is going to skyrocket. So I am buying stock tomorrow morning. And when the stock price skyrockets, I will sell the stock, and I will not only get my $27 million back, but I will make money on top of it.
Meet Maya Angelou. I love this woman. She was such a gentle spirit. So let's find out exactly what made her who she was. When you look at her, there's just a sweetness and a pleasantness and a wish she was everybody's grandmother kind of energy about her. Of our 9 face shapes, she's a classic iron face. Strong, stable, stubborn. It's that Winston Churchill face. That isn't her energy, and yet that is who she is. This woman is strong. She is stable, and she is stubborn. Never came across in anything that she did, but I guarantee that's who she was. There is something so fascinating about this face, and it has to do with her eyes. When I look at the eyes, I always compare the right to the left. The right eye is what we show to the world. It's our public persona. It's our mother's influence. It's what we want the world to see. The left eye is our true inner private self, and we don't want the world to see this. This is a hidden entity. That doesn't mean it's bad. So if we cover up her left eye and just look at that right eye, that is as loving of an eye as you're ever going to see. I wish I could put math to what I'm seeing here, and if you see this, it means this. And it's just your first sense of what it is probably what it is. Now, cover up that right eye and look at that left eye. There is such deep sadness that it looks like she's about to burst into tears. Why would she hide that? It is such a dramatic indicator. I think she's sad about mankind because of just her passion and her love for mankind. And that's why we're seeing that in a very hidden way. These deep lines here, they're called falling lines. Falling means purpose and spiritual strength. She's the epitome of spiritual strength. An incredible lady. A little bit of waviness to her hairline. I bet her teen years were interesting. I think she used life experiences to mold her into who she was. And she took a lot of things that could have been taken as bad and turned them into just this unbelievable, beautiful human being. Health-wise, she does have some kind of deep lines right in here. That's an adrenal indicator. There's some puffiness underneath the eyes, kidney deficiency. She probably had some arthritic activity. Outside of the eyebrows are kind of thin. Western medicine, this is a history of a thyroid issue. It's called a Hertog sign. It also can indicate a lack of sibling support. I'd be anxious to see where she was in the birth order. My guess is she was either first or last born or only child. Again, I don't know her history in that regard. Also, her pupils are a little bit unlevel. This indicates traumatic brain injury or concussion. I think she is such a sensitive, loving human being that the concussion that appears to be here was more likely emotional and her unhappiness with some of the things mankind is doing to itself. Again, hope you enjoyed Maya. I certainly enjoyed reading her face.
And a lot of what he said definitely played out publicly. You can see it in Maya Angelou's efforts towards mankind. So yeah, he's pretty spot on for sure. Well, you guys, hey, that's another one in the books, man. I appreciate you guys for stopping by and watching another one with me. But if you haven't already, smash that like button for me. Smash that subscribe button. Join the iTrack fam, man. Just go ahead and sub up. And I will definitely catch you on the next one.